Hello and welcome to Middle Earth readings. Today it is Monday the 3rd of May, so happy Beltane to any of you who are celebrating Beltane over the weekend. Here in the UK we were blessed with a little bit of sun, a little bit of nice weather. It's cold today, but it was really nice yesterday, so I got to do some lovely planting and gardening through the course of the weekend. And I know that it is the bank holiday for many of you. It's the bank holiday here. So if you are joining me live on your bank holiday, happy bank holiday. Hi Suzanne, lovely to see you. So Middle Earth readings, we are going to be looking at runic astrology, the movements of the planets through the runic wheel for your week ahead, bringing insights and inspirations for creative souls, seers, healers, magicians, mystics. What does the northern tradition and the movements of the runes through the wheel of the year, what can they tell us about our week, and how can we harness those energies? Hello Marie as well, lovely to see you too. So as normal, I would really like to invite you, if you're joining me live, to share runes that are coming up for you, and we can look at how they might integrate with the energies and the runes that are at play within the wheel at the moment. Felicity says that she has got Inguz coming up. Oh, Felicity, interesting. I might come back to that one once we've shared them. There's something about the three prongs of the Inguz rune that's whispering to me for you there. So let's have a look, and I'll let you know about the planets, and then we'll come back to Inguz. So we've got 3 planetary movements to look at through this week, and an interesting theme that's come through that I've been presented with, uniting these energies together, which is the theme of micro-heroics. I didn't even know there was such a thing as micro-heroics, but apparently there is. According to the gods, and who am I to question them, there is such a thing as micro-heroics. And really, I think what they were talking about is that, the history books, and if you think about our social media and our news, tend to focus on macro heroics. They tend to focus on like big gestures, on people who for whatever reason have caught the spirit of a moment. They've caught something that's in the air, and we can imagine that somehow their lives are bigger, grander, better supported, more important in some ways than our own. Whereas in actual fact, Odin, he's been whispering to me about Othala, which we're coming to at the end of the week, has been saying that we aren't in control of our legacy, nor are we in control of whether our story becomes a story that is becomes magnified in the lens of history or social media awareness at the time. But that doesn't mean that the actions that we take aren't having a ripple effect that goes out into the world around us, just because it's not wow, look at this amazing thing that this person did. Doesn't mean that the action doesn't ripple out all through the worlds. So interesting thing there. So they're talking about micro heroics, the idea that we in our lives are taking, every person is taking heroic action, or can choose to take heroic action, can choose to live aligned to their values, can choose to make difficult decisions, or decisions maybe that take them outside their comfort zone in some way, and so are heroic to them within the context of their lives. Everybody could have an amazing story. If you think about reading somebody's autobiography or a biography about them, we're interested in the everyday lives of other people. It's just that we don't have time to read all of the books of all of the people, but we're each a hero in our own story. So I welcome you in the context of your story and the heroic journey that you are on in your life at this point through the course of this reading. So we have got 3 planetary movements to look at. We've got Frigg's Chariot moved into Inguz today, so that's going to be important for us. And so Frigg is the Roman equivalent of Venus, and Inguz is the rune of the seed of gestation. So if you think about micro heroics in that context, that it could be as simple as, I choose to change some habits in my life. This week I'm going to drink more water, I'm going to get more exercise. That's going to, not only am I going to be a great role model for the people around me of I'm investing in myself, Maybe my life will be prolonged as a result of that, long-term impact for that. Could have a massive ripple effect on what you can achieve, on how much energy you've got available to you through your life, and on your own happiness, So they don't have to be big things, so Inguz reminds us of that. It says, I'm a little store of energy, I'm a seed, but I could explode out, in so many different ways as yet unknown. And some of you may remember that I did a live this time last year on the Inguz rune. So we're building towards Inguz. We're in the half month of Larguz at the moment with Suna's Chariot, and we're going to be moving into the half month of Inguz in just about a week and a half, something like that. So the energy of Inguz is building. I did a live last year about taking a seed, like an actual seed, and filling it with intentions, charging it up with Inguz energy, and then planting it. And I suggested that you could take, I think it was 3 seeds, one to gift, gift to the earth, one for yourself that you might eat, and one to sacrifice, to sort of lay out in whatever way it needs to, just sort of scatter and see what happens to it. So it was a blessing of 3 seeds using Inguz. And I actually did this working last year. I did it personally for myself, and I did it for the house that I'm sitting in now. So I was looking to move house, and I had a vision of what it was that I needed, in my life, what needed to happen, and I found, this house, and I went and I put a seed in the garden of this house, and here I am sitting in this house here today. So, a tiny seed of envisioning what I wanted has led to very different and new life for me now, in a house that I love and a heart that's really nurturing me. So you might want to be thinking about that in terms of what are the seeds that you want to be planting for yourself at this point. And it might be something that you're thinking, yes, I've got a big vision that I want to move towards, and I want to change, and I'm going to do some magics with the Inguz rune. Or it could be that you're thinking, actually, I want to do some micro, heroics work. And one of the things that I would suggest can be quite helpful with this rune is you can literally draw this rune, charge it up. For those of you who familiar with rune work, how to charge it up. Charge up your rune, and write inside what it is that you're trying to achieve. So it could be, drink more water. It could be go for a walk every day. Whatever it is that you're doing, and then put it on your fridge, or you could carry it with you. And let the Inguz rune hold that intention for you. It's a really nice, powerful way of combining our habit building with magical work. So it's a lot of Inguz energy there. Now, what I did want to say, because I realized that I might have confused some of you last week, because I was talking last week about our 3 planetary movements last week, and although I intended to say Odin's Chariot in Inguz all the way through the live, I said Frigg's Chariot in Inguz all the way through the live. So in case you're thinking, sorry, I thought that Frigg's Chariot moved last week, it was Odin's Chariot that was moving. But if you look at our web pages, we always have all of the planetary movements there. So I'm sorry that it's just my brain doing something a bit weird then. Okay, so that's our first strand starting today, is working with Inguz. Let's see what's going on. So Felicity, we know, has got Algiz. Marie's got Rado, so there's some journeying happening there, some movement going on. Alexis has got Ansu. Suzanne's got Tewaz and Thurisaz. I'm not sure whether Suzanne's going Tewaz and Thurisaz again, yay, or she's going Tewaz and Thurisaz again. We shall see. And Rebecca has also got Algiz, Bacano and Rado. Erica's got Othala. Alexis says, I'm loving micro heroics. As does Erica as well. We're loving micro heroics. There's a lot of feeling of micro heroics today. And Cara Pulkinas for the week ahead. Okay, so quite a few things to bring in for the reading. But I'm going to do all 3 of our movements, I think, before I start to read. I'm just inspired by Felicity's Algiz in the 3 parts. So we've got micro heroics that we find in the Inguz rune to start with. Whether it's the big vision that you're planting a small seed for, or whether it's the small changes that you want to make through your life that are going to make that big change, in the long run for you. So then we have our next planetary movement, which is Tia's Chariot, is moving into Fehu, and that's on the 6th. So whereas with, Frigg, we've got this sense of maybe like hearth and home, sovereignty in terms of the divine feminine. With Tia, we're thinking about the spiritual warrior. There's sometimes some sacrifice that comes in with Tyr. He's often, if you think about Inguz, he often is about saying, what do you want to sacrifice in order for something better to come along? So he often asks that question in the context of Fehu. Fehu is the rune of wealth, of movable wealth, of sort of flowing life force. It's not the same as Othala, which we're going to come to next with Odin's Chariot, which is estate, inherited money, sort of fixed legacy, land, wealth that we can draw on, a sort of stable wealth. It's flowing wealth. It's very much about the way in which we participate in the flow of well-being and the flow of wealth through life. So it's not just about how we feel about wealth, our relationship to money, our sense of how, does it flow, or do we feel a sense of scarcity in our lives? It's also about the way in which we participate in wealth. And again, I did a live on the Fehu rune, which feels very relevant to me again. It's sort of earlier than the Inguz live last year, where I was talking about doing the round pound charging with Fehu rune, which is basically where you get a pound, or sometimes it's nice to get £2, and you charge up your pounds with your Fehu rune. And I like to use pounds because they're gold. Anything that sort of looks a bit gold, or green would work as well. So gold or green, good colours for money with the Fehu rune. And charge them up, and then you can keep one if you want, but you can also, if you're doing it with just one, you give it away. And the idea is that you're then participating in the flow of wealth, and wealth starts to flow for you. And what Tyr is talking about is the way in which each of us can contribute to that flow of wealth. So I've been thinking about, for example, whatever your income is, however small it is, we're talking on an energetic level here. Taking, a tiny amount of your income, of the wealth that you have, and thinking about, what could I do with this as a generous act to participate in the flow of wealth, to make sure that it's flowing through society. Now, what can you do in that sense? I'm reminded of some work that I've been done. A technique that I was taught through one of many, which is the women's leadership organisation that I work with and coach through. And they talk about thinking about wealth jars. Some of you will already have the idea of this, that you have, your expenditure, the money that you need. I need this money, and it flows out. I spend it on the stuff that I need in my life at the moment. You have money that you save, that you're saving for something important. And you might think about that in terms of your Inguz seeds. And you have the money that you give back, to society. And Fehu asks us to think about that energetically, and to think about the way in which we are, participants in society through the way that we choose to distribute our wealth, through how we choose to use it, what we choose to spend on. And again, I'm thinking about this in terms of micro heroics, So tending to the small amounts of money that do make a difference is what Tyr is really asking us to look at there. And then finally, we have Odin's Chariot in Othala. So Odin moved into Inguz last week, and he's speeding along at the moment. He's moving into Othala, the rune of ancestry, of estate, and of inheritance. And again, this is interesting to me because I was thinking about legacy, in the context of the Othala rune. And Odin was saying to me that many of you will know, if you think about sort of the Viking tradition, the idea of, a Viking warrior who dies in battle and then is transported up to Valhalla. And this idea that, in order to achieve Valhalla, you must die in battle. That's the idea here. But what I find interesting in the Northern tradition is that it is full of indicators that Valhalla was by no means the only place that the dead would go to. And my suspicion is that maybe a lot of the history books, and the histories were written from the perspective of, we need warriors who are going to die in battle and are going to live in glory with Odin, and then have the drinking horns, and they're going to be there, eating boar and laughing and telling tales, and then they're going to ride out with Odin at the end of Ragnarok, and that's fantastic and wonderful. But we also know that Freya gathers up some of the dead, Now she has a portion of some of the, again, the warrior dead. We know that a lot of the dead go into Helheim, which is not a place of punishment. It is a place of renewal, of healing. It's very beautiful. It's said that it's like filled with apple orchards. You know, it's not a place of punishment. It's also a place of blessing and renewal. We know that some of the dead are gathered to Ran, the goddess of the sea. You know, she draws them in. She wants their stories. You know, the stories of sailors. And you know, and we know for Geifion, for example, the goddess of like harvesting, is also, she's said to watch over virgins, interestingly, you know, and gather them to her hall. So there's this real idea that there's no single destination for us, you know, at the point of death. And what Odin was really talking to me about, he was saying, not only are we not able to, we can't just say that there's one form of legacy. Now, legacy isn't just my story was written large in the history books and I'm remembered forever. It's also not as easy as saying, oh, when I come to the end of my life, I know what my legacy will be. If you think about poets and artists who were never recognized in their lifetimes and have now come to be like huge, you know, huge, and yet they didn't make money during their own lifetimes. Our legacy is, you know, in many ways, Odin is sort of saying, you know, just put that to one side for a minute and focus on your actions, you know, and legacy not in terms of was my name big in lights, you know, was I remembered by many people. It could be as simple as saying I was remembered by, you know, a few people for doing really important, you know, work with them, for supporting them in important times. I mean, I could look at the list of people who are here, and I know that, you know, there are people here who have had a massive impact on me in my life. They may never know it. So saying, think less about having your name writ large anywhere and more about the person that you want to be and the place, you know, that you will go to after your death will be waiting for you. And, you know, and it's just another step in the journey. You know, it's another journey, which reminds me of, who was it who had Rado? Who had Rado? Marie said she had Rado. So that's interesting to me, Marie, and just in terms of thinking about the way in which each of us has our own journey. There is no single path that dictates what makes you, you know, a hero in your own life. You can't contrast yourself with others and say, okay, let's just look at a little scale and here's the gold medal, here's the silver medal, here's the bronze medal. You know, we're not working in that sense of a sliding scale of heroism. You know, it doesn't work that way. Each of us has our own heroic path that we're choosing to follow. You know, our own challenges, our own purpose in life. So what we want to do is to live aligned to that purpose, to be proud of our own story, you know, and to own our own stories. So for me, Marie, when you have the Rado there, that's about saying, you know, what's your journey? Where has it been? Where is it going? You know, what's the sort of excitement that's unfolding? And again, if you think about the micro heroics there, it would be about saying, you know, acknowledging your own heroic journey of for me, I'm feeling with you, it's almost like of the past. You know, what if I being proud of your achievements in the past? And with Felicity, you said with the Algiz rune, I'm reminded almost of there's a sense of the gods to me sort of saying, first of all, there is no one route. You know, there's no single way. It's not that you're like there and it says, okay, well, you can choose. You're going to move to this house, you're going to move to this house. And one way is the white way, one is the correct way, and one is the wrong way. And if you make the wrong decision now, well, that's it. It's over. You know, you're doomed. It's not saying that at all. It's almost saying you can forge your hero's journey on many, many pathways, as long as you're holding, you know, that sense of your compass, you know, of which way, what's the general direction. You can take many paths to that. And there's a sense for me with the Algiz rune also of witnessing. If you think about Algiz as being a human being with their hands raised up to the skies, you know, communing with the gods. I can sort of hear the gods sort of whispering a little bit, sort of saying, they are each on their own heroic journey. No, they have their own heroic destiny. The Norse gods are not omniscient or perfect, immortal gods in the same way as other pantheons. They're each on their own heroic journeys. They honor us and our path, but they're not there to dictate it. You know, they honor the paths that we choose for ourselves. They honor choice. It's definitely something that I found with the Northern tradition is that, say, for example, you know, a god comes and they say, oh, come and work with me and do this amazing work. You know, what they're doing, they're not instructing. They're not saying, you will take this path. They're inviting. And if you were to say, yes, this is aligned to my purpose, I will follow this path, they will honor that. If you were to say, thank you, but that is not aligned to my path at this point, or I'm not ready for this moment, you know, they will honor that as well, because they honor us as autonomous individuals taking our own paths. So let's see who else we've got. So Alexis is, and Suze you're in, wasn't it, Alexis? So I'm feeling for you that that might be about tapping into your inspiration, you know, maybe a little bit of journaling, meditation, thinking about poetry that inspires you in some way, and looking for the insights that that provides you into, you know, into that heroic path, your own heroic path. It's almost like the gods will want to speak to you on some level. When I say the gods, I mean sort of source, spirit, you know, whatever works for you. That sense that there is, you know, the universe is looking out for you in some way and wanting to collaborate with you. So I sort of saying, you know, pay attention, have a little listen to what's out there, and see how you might want to adjust some of those small actions that we've been talking about to even more fully live within your own purpose. Now, Suzanne has got Tewaz and Thurisaz again. So they're really knocking on your door, aren't they, Suzanne? And saying, you know, I really feel as if they're sort of calling you to power in some way. You know, your choice. The gods are honoring your choice, you know, about what you choose to do in terms of the actions that you take, what you choose not to do. Holding your boundaries with Thurisaz and following your course with Tewaz. You know, that real sense of power and purpose and direction is what I'm feeling for you there. And yeah, slightly different to the sense of the Algiz rune, giving sort of reassurance. It's almost saying you don't need that reassurance. You know, trust what you know in your heart. That's where the biggest truth is for you. Rebecca, you had Algiz as well, and also Rado, so I'm not going to cover those again, but that sense of the path. And with Bacano, there's a sense of protection as well coming in. Maybe a sense in which there is an embodiment of the divine feminine that comes through your pathway there. You know, I know that I know you're a mum, and yeah, that sense of just by being in that energy, in that Bacano energy of creating a safe space, of creating a space for others to bloom and grow and be in their own creativity as well, is a manifestation of your own path, is what I'm getting through that combination of those three there. Now, Erica, you had Othala, which obviously is coming through with Odin's chariot in Othala. And so again, this, I think for me, almost thinking about legacy not as something that is received by others, because we can't control how it's received, but as legacy in terms of what you are creating. And yeah, it feels really nice when I feel like it's almost like honoring yourself and your path there. I'm seeing you with, you know, like the ancestral fire burning, and that sense of you almost knowing that you are part of the circle of ancestors. You know, that you're already part of that circle. We don't step into becoming an elder. We don't step into becoming an ancestor. We just are already, you know, from the moment that we incarnate, we're already part of that circle. And there's a real sense for me of you knowing that, but it's almost a celebration of that at the moment. Cara has Kinaz, lovely creativity there. I'm feeling the burning of Kinaz as well for you, Cara. There's a sense of, you know, if you think about the Kinaz rune being knowledge and creativity, it's, yeah, there's a slight almost a pain then when I'm feeling the Kinaz rune, like there's something burning, calling attention. I wonder if I'm reminded of when I did some work a long time ago for a job that I was doing, and I did some spell work working with the runes, and I felt at the time I was like, have I raised enough energy for this spell? I feel that my desire is really strong, so I need to channel a lot, and I wasn't sure. And then the next morning, I was on the way to the job interview, and I burnt myself on the iron, and it formed a little Kinaz rune on my hand, and it stayed there for quite some time. And it was almost a reminder to me of when I was in the job, that I got the job, and it was great, and I really enjoyed it, and I loved it, and I learned so much from it. And I used to sometimes look at that little scar, which has faded now, but it was there for quite some time, and remember, I chose this, I wanted this. Even on the hard days, on the challenging days, it was like, no, I made my choice, and I remembered that person and where I'd come from. And I was like, I am a different person, and that has taken me on the journey. And even when there was a moment of frustration and new things coming through, it was like I looked at that like that scar and went, no, it's okay. It's okay. I am still in control of my own destiny. I'm still a collaborator in my own destiny on those days when I really felt like I wasn't. And so what's going on in the world? So it's a nice reminder. I don't know if that there's something there, Cara, that I'm feeling around what is, if you had a little scar that was saying what were the choices that you made on your life path that might be manifesting in an uncomfortable way at the moment. But what do they tell you, and what power do they give you? And claim that power is almost what I'm sensing there. So I think that's, oh no, we've got one more. We've got Wunyo from Suzanne. I think you might be toasting there with Wunyo. Wunyo to you, Suzanne. If it's not, if you were actually saying I got Wunyo as well, let me know. But I think that you're toasting. In which case I Wunyo you. For those of you who aren't in the half space or one of our awakening programs, we do the symbol right for intention setting, and we all Wunyo at the end when we have our intentions coming through. And Hannah has said that she has Thurisaz as well this week, and again, so that Suzanne had Thurisaz too. I think without the Tewas combination of Thurisaz, what's going on there? I'm wondering if there's something there around more about boundaries there, Hannah, for me. Almost about saying sometimes we can push ourselves to be like, I want to do more. If you think about the micro heroics thing, I want to do more. There's two things that comes to mind for me. One would be to say that sometimes the best thing that we can do is to be a hero for ourselves, defending ourselves, our time, our energy. And the other is that's coming through is saying your voice is bigger than you know. So I don't know if there's a cause or something that you feel passionate about, but it's almost suggesting to me that just the act of voicing what's important to you is enough. Sometimes when we take a stand, we can see people and they can take a stand which feels very Thurisaz, like very powerful, an aggressive energy of Thurisaz. But this for me is talking about the power of your voice and your presence, and saying, own that. Own your power and your presence, and people will feel that. You don't have to be aggressive in order to get what you want in the world. So I think that is everybody's runes. Erica's saying, nice feeling part of the ancestral circle. I just had an Akashic Records reading where I received a metaphor of wildflowers on the mountains. Oh, that's beautiful. And I know, of course, Mountain of Birth in Almaty, Kazakhstan, with all the ancestors around you. Oh, that's wonderful, Erica. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And Rebecca has said as well, brilliant, that the words are super helpful. That is great. That is what I am here for. That is what I love to hear. What a beautiful way to end the reading for this week. So wishing you much power, celebrating you all on your heroic journey, and standing in your power, and doing what you are called to do in this lifetime. That's all that we can each offer. So I hope this has been helpful for you, whether you're here live or whether you're catching up through the week. Many blessings for you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.